Oh goodness! Oh goodness! Oh Jane! This is a problem.
It's freezing.
It's so cold. When we did the pilot, I thought we were only going to do the one episode. I didn't think people would buy into it, and if I'd known, I wouldn't have picked a podcast format that requires harvesting from the top of this mountain.
I know. Who on earth thought that Antarctica was the best place to keep podcast ideas?
Oh goodness, we keep asking the bodies of people who didn't make it to the peak. How far have we got to go?
God, I think that's one of my old podcasts.
Oh no!
Oh, God.
Keep going.
Oh.
We made it. We're at the top. There it is. There it is. The interstitial tune that allows us to go from this into the actual podcast.
Greetings, strangers queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. We did a pilot episode and people seem to like it, so we're back with another episode of a podcast where we do silly voices and skits and talk about our week and just generally be queer people that have a conversation about stuff.
Woo!
Woo! Conversations, they're a good place to start. What have you been up to this week?
I've been shouting at my PC for
Yeah.
over an hour of installing.
Yeah, Windows is it's great when it works, but every iterative version of Windows has just been can we force you to do longer and longer updates that seem to change nothing?
We're free, but we're much, much more annoying.
Who doesn't love free but annoying, huh?
Me, I don't love free but annoying. In other news, after over an hour of trying to sort this shit out and now ending up recording on my laptop, my PC has finally finished doing its thing.
Yeah, this is what computers do. As soon as they realise, oh, you don't need me now? Okay, I'll finish.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of lighting a cigarette to make the bus come.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, as soon as, you've resigned yourself to it not happening, it's gonna happen.
Yep.
So yeah, what have you been up to this week,
What have I
Jane?
actually been up to?
Yeah, what have you actually? Well, what have you been up to as opposed to watching happen and not being up to?
Well, I've watched some stuff. I've listened to some stuff. I've played some stuff. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with watch some stuff. What have you been watching this week?
Well, to celebrate my birthday yesterday, I sat and watched Leon Renegade Cuts made a film, a feature-length documentary, Left Behind and the Translation of God. You know, it's just some light viewing to celebrate. It's about 2 hours long, and it's about a series of heavily Christian books about things that are sort of... watch it, it's interesting. I can't really do it justice. I do not really understand enough about Christian theology to really talk about what it's actually about, but there are some misunderstandings, some mistranslations that are brought up, and about how that has affected American culture over the last X number of years, because as a lot of people are sort of characterised as being very much sort of, well, we haven't read the book, but we will watch the film, and even the films themselves are based on a series of books, and it seems like the impression Leon is giving throughout that film is that a lot of sections of American Christianity have taken these films as, well, you know, this is where it's all coming from, and this is where it's all going, and you're very bad people, and you're going to hell, and blah. The Antichrist is coming.
As someone who's studied theology for a while, Christian theology in particular, there is a lot of very interesting learning to be done about hey, why do people who follow Christianity today view the religion the way they do? What things do they believe that are not necessarily based on the sort of older texts? What things are a lot more sort of modern interpretations or spins on the text than people necessarily realize. There's a lot of interesting stuff, and I'm not pointing those out to say like Christianity as a religion is less valid because of it, but it's important if you practice a religion to understand what things existed, were written in what time period, what things were introduced as translations happened, what things were perhaps cultural artifacts of the time that they were written later.
Politically even, which
politically
the film
even,
goes
yeah.
into.
Yeah, like, there's stuff like divorce. Divorce is a really easy example of divorce used to be completely forbidden by the Bible, and then basically King Henry VIII created a new strain of Christianity in England so that he could get divorced, and that basically kind of muddied the Christian viewpoint on divorce forever. Yeah, there's things like that. It's all interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 hours of very interesting stuff. Not just about the book, the series of books and the films that have been based on that, but also about Christianity as a whole and what they believe. In fact, there is a good sort of 20 minutes at the beginning where he talks about what do Christians believe and sort of how there are many different factions within that all sort of come from a very similar base, but take things differently, and obviously some take some stories from books of the Bible to be more literal or more I can't remember what the word is, but it's figurative, like a parable. You know, you're supposed to learn something from this story rather than going, this actually literally happened.
As someone who's spent a good 20 years of their life practicing as a Christian, I've been to churches where it's like, nope, the creation story, totally you can take that as just a metaphor to explain something we did not understand that teaches us as a parable.
Yeah.
And I've also been to churches where it's like, yeah, the bread and wine, once you swallow that, it literally, not figuratively, literally will turn into the body and blood of Christ as you swallow it. So, like, there are differing schools of Christian belief out there.
And the other thing I watched in the spirit of light-hearted viewing yesterday was I sat down and watched a 4-hour documentary about the Nightmare on Elm Street series called Never Sleep Again, the Elm Street Legacy.
Have you slept since you watched it, or did you take their advice and never sleep again?
No, it was okay. I slept because at the end of that they assured me that they probably weren't making another Freddy film following Freddy vs. Jason.
So if they're not making another film, that means that, like, it's over now and he's not going to get into your head if you go to sleep.
1, 2, Freddy's not coming for you anymore. Freddy's retired, decapitated, winked at camera. Oops, spoilers for Freddy vs. Jason.
1, 2, Freddy's fed up with coming for you.
1, 2, Freddy's got other things to do. Now you sit there and watch telly. Flashbacks of childhood. What have you been watching?
The main thing I watched through this week is I binge-watched Season 4 of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which basically, it's been out for a while, but it only just got added to Netflix, which is when I get around to watching the new series of things. So for anyone who's not watched it, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a 20-minute episodes comedy series about a police station in America. And one of the things that's really nice about it is they do a really good job of not only, like, representation, but also intersectional representation.
Yeah.
One of the things that's really nice about it is pretty much any minority group archetype you can think of has not just one, but at least 2 people of that minority group in the show, so that one person is not having to act as a stand-in for an entire minority group.
Wowza.
Yeah, I know, right? So you don't just have the one black police officer in the station, you have the one who is, like, a very emotional, but is also at the, like, officer level, but is very strong, versus the one that grew up during a time where being black and gay in the police force was a problem, and as such he's a lot more emotionally reserved, but he's also the one in charge of the station, and, like, you have multiple groups that are just like, oh, there's not just one person of this group to represent all of the group. And also, the comedy is generally, like, very progressive. I can't think of a time in Brooklyn Nine-Nine where they've made a joke at the expense of a minority group where I was like, no, I'm not keen on that. Like, it's all just very good-humoured fun. With
Punch
this,
up.
yeah, with this just cast of silly police officers that bumble around trying to just about do their jobs.
Excellent. This sounds...
Yeah.
More of that, please, in the world.
Indeed. So yeah, I watched through season 4, and mostly it continued to be a series of standalone stories. There is a little bit of an overarching plot that they sort of had a couple of episodes about at the end of the season, and I am dying to know how they resolve the cliffhanger they ended the series on. So, I want to know. But yeah, no, that's what I've been watching. Just some very light-hearted comedic telly.
Excellent. More of that, please.
Indeed.
Boss, there's food over there, there's food!
Pizza! Looks lovely.
Okay, go get it.
No, wait! We must obey the 5-second rule.
Sir? Why? Why can't we just... I'd like to go get on that food. Why can't we go get on the food? Yeah.
It is written in the most ancient of our texts that we must obey the 5-second rule.
Well, I don't understand. Surely our job is to be on that food and we should just go straight to that food. Like, what?
Look, you are aware that humans produce various cleaning substances.
Yes.
And you are aware that most of them kill 99% of germs.
Yes.
Many years ago, we made a pact with the humans that they would not kill 100% of us if we would stay off their food for at least 5 seconds. That was the agreement that our forebears made.
Well, I suppose, but it seems like such an arbitrary amount of time. Like, surely the humans would have wanted to strike a deal for more like 10, 15 seconds, and...
There was a lot of back and forth.
Well, I'm impressed, sir, that we got such a good deal out of the humans that we only have to give it 5 seconds. Are there any exceptions to this? Are there any times where we're allowed to get on it in less than 5 seconds?
Marmite. We're allowed to go for Marmite as quickly as possible, because that stuff's gross, nobody wants it.
What about things that have fallen into, like, wet mess? You know, what if someone, like, drops something in some sick?
Well, then of course we have to hand it over to the stomach bacteria, who were already there and present. And in many cases, they're so ingrained into the culture of us, the germs, the bacteria, that they will recoil back from the food for the first 5 seconds.
And I have, I guess, only one more question. Now I stop and think about it, sir. Why is it that, like, dry food somehow, like, why do we have to leave that longer? Why is that okay for longer than 5 seconds?
It's just not worth it. Like, nobody wants a bit of dry pasta. Boring. Pizza, nom nom nom. Speaking of which, shall we get on that? I think it's been more than 5 seconds.
Right,
charge!
Good evening, everyone. Fred here from Channel 7 News, and I'm here today in Dorset to investigate the local sample mines, because we've unfortunately had a terrible cave-in, and we'll get down to that in a moment. But I have one of the workers from the sample mines here for an interview. Hello.
Hello there.
What's your name?
It's Clive.
Hello, Clive. I understand you work in the Dorset sample mines. Could you tell me a little bit about the job for those who don't know what you do in the sample mines?
Well, we have these specially modified picks. They've got little microphones on the end. We dig out the samples. We were recently just found a lovely seam of hi-hats. It was brilliant, just digging along, just...
See, this is fascinating. I think many people don't know that that the parts that you find in music, the music samples, are a natural resource. Have you ever worried that as a natural resource we're going to run out of samples while exporting them from Dorset, which, as we all know, is the world capital of music samples?
Well, you'll find that musical genres come in and out depending on sort of what we're digging out at the time. Recently, we've had an awful lot of wubs, so we have been naturally exporting more dubstep.
Fascinating. And can you tell me a little bit about what caused this sample mine cave-in?
To be fair, we had found some absolutely massive wubs just... We should have seen the signs. Unfortunately, they were such good wubs, such dirty bass, and it was absolutely fantastically dirty bass. The miners were really getting into their groove, proper cranking it out down there. But all of a sudden, there was a build. There was definitely a build. We should have known. We really should have known. All we could hear for a while was just...
Oh, goodness. Did you
Naturally, a drop was going to come.
Oh, no. Did you accidentally hit the drop?
We actually hit the drop, and naturally that did lead to a cave-in.
See, this...
Lucky no one was hurt for long. I think we've developed a whole new style of like electronic jazz.
I'm glad to know that nobody was too terribly hurt when the beat dropped. Well, do you have any final parting words for those who are interested in a career in the sample mines, or for anyone who is concerned that mining in the sample mines is causing damage to the Dorset countryside?
Always wear a hard hat and some DJ headphones. Remember, E11s... What are E11s? Attenuating earphones are absolutely vital when you're working in a noisy environment for long periods of time.
I think you should leave in the giggle about E11s.
I think they're E11s. I don't want to give people bad advice about.
I don't know. I like that you
earphones.
sort of thought about it, giggled, and kept going.
Okay, well that's fine. We can do that.
Yay!
Then what happened?
What have you been listening to this week?
Ooh, there's a question. I've been sort of tripping back through because a couple of weeks ago I had my week where I went through the complete King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, the entire discography, to celebrate the release of their most recent album. On the very last few moments of 2017, I listened to a load of My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy, and I listened to my first Panic at the Disco album. I think it was the week before last.
How did you find listening to your first Panic at the Disco album?
I wasn't really into it. I think it was their first album. I don't know if they got better after that, but I didn't really dig it.
I wouldn't necessarily say better. All of their albums sound very different. No two of their albums have the same sort of sound to them.
Okay.
They're one of those bands that, like, every time they release a new album, it just sounds a bit different.
Well, I imagine that keeps it interesting for them.
Yeah, like, they're a band that, like, I'm surprised at, like, I honestly think the music they're making today is better music, but it sounds like a completely different genre to where they started.
Okay, well, maybe I will dip back in and try some more of that.
I might try sending you a couple of tracks I think you might like.
Please. I do like recommendations.
The Disco... I'm having a quick look at their discography to be like, what would be my recommendations for people who are like, what are some songs from later in their career? But that means finding a discography. They've released at least like nine bands. They've released at least 9 albums, and I'm suddenly having to go through and be like, where is just a list of what's on these albums? I quite like some tracks from the album Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die.
That's a Hunter S. Thompson quote.
I believe so, yeah. So some of their stuff on there is like... They have some interesting songs about addiction on that album that are quite impressively written songs. There we go. See all.
Seal.
So yeah, I might recommend stuff like Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time.
Okay.
Is quite a good one. I quite enjoy The Good, the Bad and the Dirty. And let's find one more to recommend. Let's Kill Tonight would be my third recommendation. So there's a few from across their things that are like, don't sound... I think when most people think of Panic at the Disco, they think of their first album. That's a couple of later songs that are like, give those a look.
Okay.
Those are interesting ones.
I will give them a check out. What I actually ended up listening to this week, I went back to some of my favourites. I listened to some Oscar Schuster again. I'm sure I've played you some of this. It's lots of found sounds. It's quite European. There's a lot of accordion. There's lots of like music boxes. The album in particular that I like has lots of sounds of typewriters clacking over like music boxes, and quite couple of tracks to check which you can find yourself. Marchen and Wunder, both very good albums, both very good tracks from the same album, I believe.
I'm always up for music like that takes sort of found sounds and layers them in. It's completely skipping my mind. I'm sure if you googled this you could find it, but there's a song from the Travelling Wilburys that uses a bunch of sounds played on things in a fridge.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I always love where it's like just throwing in some like odd sounds to give a unique feel to a track.
Definitely. Sort of following on that theme, I've listened to some Elen again, which is Elenn, particularly a track called King of Thebes. It's sort of modern funk with, instead of a vocal track, it's like vocal sounds that have been edited together to sound like a lead, but without actually being any specific words. Bit like Pogo, if you've ever heard Pogo. The other thing I've been listening to is Silent Hill soundtracks again.
Oh,
That's so good.
They're always nice. Like I love Silent Hill soundtracks. Like on a dark day in winter, particularly if there's a little bit of mist, they can just be so nice and atmospheric.
Yes, I think the thing that, because I've not listened to these in a while, and I used to have them all on my MP3 player, back when I was working in retail still, so probably about 6 years ago now. And every sort of January, or the first couple of weeks of January, maybe that's what made me think of it, we had to do stock take, usually on or just around my birthday, which meant I spent the first 3 weeks of January up a ladder counting stock before the stock take happens so that they can just scan it off a list. But they wouldn't pay overtime. And as manager, I was responsible for making sure that the stock take still happened. So it was my responsibility to basically be the one that did all the work. So I'd send my staff home at 6 o'clock because they're like, we're not getting paid, bye. And I'm like, that's totally fair. And I'm not the kind of manager that will tell you that you can't go home when you're not being paid. So I would be sat up this ladder until, I think the latest I stayed there was about 4 a.m. But the shop was in a shopping mall. And I don't think before that I'd ever been there until a sort of past maybe 10 o'clock at night at latest.
I imagine a shopping centre gets really damn creepy at that time of night.
Oh yeah, especially when you've decided to put the Silent Hill soundtracks on over the tannoy.
Oh gosh, I imagine that was both amazing and creepy as hell.
Yeah, a little bit. Just
a little bit.
Just a little bit scary. What was the track? Everything on the Silent Hill 1 soundtrack, from Not Tomorrow to My Heaven. I was up a ladder, falling asleep, literally falling asleep at about 2 a.m, and those tracks came on.
Oh.
They turned all the main lights out. The security guards did not seem to be coming past, and I think if I'd seen one walking past in the dark outside my shop, I probably would have capped myself.
I can understand that.
Yeah, but if you want some, who needs a horror film? The Silent Hill soundtracks and a particularly dark, empty supermarket, shopping mall, will be quite sufficient to give you the heebies and the jeebies.
Both the heebies and the jeebies.
A good quantity. What about you? What are you listening to?
I've been listening to a few new tracks this week that I've been really enjoying. I think most of the ones I've been listening to this week have been very, like, here is a guitar, and, like, quite a good, fast, steady drum beat, and some emotive, quite fast lyrics over it. Seems to be, like, my genre of choice this week. One I've been really enjoying is a track called Creative Drug by... what is the band called? By Nowhere. So Creative Drug by Nowhere. Ooh. And lyrically, it's a track that, like, I read over the lyrics while I was listening to it the other day, and I was like, I can see why bits of this got to me, because it's basically a song about someone who is absolutely addicted to work and completely, like, uses it as their sense of, like, this is what's keeping me going, and this is what I, find my sense of fulfillment in, and I'm like, I wonder why any of that rang true for me. But yeah, it's this sort of, like, I will say, it doesn't paint that necessarily as a healthy thing, which I think is a healthy thing for the song to do. It sort of paints it as this, like, compulsion and addiction is what comes when, like, motivation is healthy, and having things to strive for is healthy, but when you put too much of yourself into that and don't see yourself as a person outside of it, that can get quite unhealthy.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very interesting track. I think it's if you just like read the lyrics without the context of the music, it reads like a very well written poem. Like, it's a very well flowed set of lyrics. So
Cool.
yeah, that's one I recommend quite highly. Another one that sounds very similar in its sort of tone is Dead Bird by McCafferty. So that's McCafferty, McCafferty. And it's another one that's like very, very lyrically emotive about watching bad things happen to someone and basically the struggle of wanting to see them toughen up because you don't want to see the world hurt them, because it's like, the world's kind of shitty and I don't want to have to tell you to, be toughen up about this, but also I don't want to see the world break you down. It's quite a sad song, but like it's very, very pacey. It's the kind of song that I've just had in the background of my week, just go, 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 go sort of momentum to it. So yeah, both of those are like, neither of them's necessarily a happy song, but both of them I think are like very well made songs.
Yeah.
And the other one, let me pull up my Spotify, because there's at least one more I've been listening to. Oh, another track from Welcome to Night Vale's weather segments. Stupid by Brendan McLean.
I don't know it by name.
It's basically a song that's very light-hearted and upbeat, where this man is basically singing about a bunch of things in a relationship that are ultimately tiny, small things that don't really matter, and using them to excuse why he ultimately left someone. It's like, oh, if you'd made me coffee, I could have loved you, and it's the way this song is put together. It's like, okay, it's clear there was something else going on that you just didn't want to deal with. So it's like, if you weren't so like this, I could have loved you. And there's a weird dissonance between all these nitpicky things he says and the tone of the music that's really fun to listen to.
Okay.
So it's a very odd one. The video is fascinating because it's the singer just like having a whale of a time dancing to this music while there is a very upset woman in the background like punching cakes and throwing things at the wall. And it's, I don't know, there's just a weird contrast that's fascinating to watch. So I highly recommend that. Hello, dears, and welcome to another episode of Eating the Rich, a recipe guide. I'm here today with Deirdre. Say hello, Deirdre.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Deirdre. Today, once again, we're going to be talking you through Eating the Rich, a guide to destroying the bourgeoisie through a recipe. What ingredients do we need today to eat the rich, Deirdre?
Well, I think today we're going to go for something slow cooked. There's lots of good meat, lots of good fat, lovely marbling there on the rich, I find.
Well, see, what I find with the rich is because they've got so much access to food whenever they wish. You often find that they have a little bit of fat to them. So slow cooking is a really good way to make that fat just fall right off the meat.
Absolutely, it makes absolutely wonderful gravy.
Oh goodness, yes. That's always our tip for eating the rich. Don't throw out any of the juices. They make for good gravy.
They do. Save the gravy.
Save the gravy, save the poor, eat the rich. So, as the name might suggest, eating the rich, you don't want to have too large of a portion. They're quite a rich, heavy meal. I find that one member of the bourgeoisie can easily feed a family of 10.
For a week or so.
Oh, indeed. You just have to make sure you use every part of the rich person.
Well, it's terribly cruel if you're going to kill an animal to not eat the whole thing. Make sure you're using the whole thing. Possibly turn their skin into some kind of very soft leather.
Waste not, want not is the way I put things. Waste not, want not, indeed. You can use their skull to hold some nice candles.
Yes, absolutely. and I tend to use the bottoms of their teeth as a toothpick. A toothy toothpick.
Oh, how gauche, how clever. I've taken to sewing the teeth into children's dolls to give them a more authentic smile.
Oh, absolutely. I find that they are wonderful. And if not that, I've taken to shaving off their hair, carefully matting it up, and then making lovely felt hats.
Oh, it's a wonderful idea you've got there. We're making such good use of every part of the rich person. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. It looks like our time is up, but
Oh no, more garlic.
we've put our rich person in the slow cooker, and next time we'll be back to show you the results.
Exactly. Down with the bourgeoisie.
Down with the bourgeoisie. Enjoy.
Oh yes, look at this one. The bold lines, the such stark colours. It's an excellent example of.
Look, I'm really sorry to bother you, but I've been staring at this painting for a while, listening to you talk about it, and I don't know if I'm looking at it wrong. I'm not much of an art person, but to me this just looks like a blank sheet of paper. I'm not seeing any art materials, like any paint or anything on this.
You clearly wouldn't understand. Perhaps your eyes are not used to this fantastic style of homeopathic art.
Homeopathic art? What are you on
Yes,
about?
it's homeopathic paints on canvas. Very, very special.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty sure there's no paint on this canvas.
No, you don't understand. It's ultranucleated paint. You see, once long ago, there was a pigment in the water that was then diluted, because water has memory, you see. And this is an example of how these pigments they're just so vibrant, even though there's such a small amount left in there. This is Hahnemann's finest work.
Well, see, here's the thing. Surely it would be more effective to use enough of the pigment that we could actually see it, and then, we could see what it was doing. And surely, if, here's the thing. I'm looking at this painting and I can't see it doing anything. And surely if this homeopathic paint did something, I'd be able to look at it and tell you what it did. Like, what was happening with what the paint had done. But the fact that I can't tell you what it's done in a vacuum probably means it's not done anything, surely?
Perhaps to your uncivilized, untrained eyes, which we fine art critics can obviously tell a Henneman from a Kent or anyone else indeed. This piece here, of course, one of Constantine Herring's finest works, of course known as To Heal a Broken Heart. It's an absolutely stunning piece. I believe that the ultramolecular qualities of the very highest. I think there is approximately 1 quadrillionth of a part per million of within the paints used on this particular canvas.
Well, here's what I'm going to offer to you then. Here is this bottle of definitely not just plain placebo paint water that I have, and it once had Vanta Black in it, the blackest of blacks. How much will ye give me for it?
Well, of course, I myself am not a painter, but perhaps if you could find one of the great homeopathic painters, they'd be terribly interested in such a thing.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stick with paint, thanks. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba.
Well,
Homeopathy sucks. What have you been playing this week?
I've not been doing a lot of gaming. I have played the Dragon Quest Builders demo on Switch.
How did you get on with that?
It's a good demo. I liked it graphically. It's very cute. Character design's very nice. The main conceit is a bit weird. The world has been plunged into sort of chaos and darkness, but nobody in the world, no human, knows how to build. Only you are blessed with the power to build, and you have suddenly come from nowhere.
It's kind of like the way I was hearing it when you described it was the Lego Movie, but if that went further. Like this whole, not only can people not like remix things, they just can't build at all.
Yeah, they They talk about how surprised they are when you first make a torch. It's like, oh, we really need a light source. That's what would really make a house. So you take a bit of slime and a bit of wood, and you make 5 torches. And this other character, I think it's like Poppy or something, Pippa. It had a P, and it might have been one of the names from Bleak Expectations. And they're like, you've built a torch. What is this building that you have done? Confusion. And it's like, well, you're wearing clothes. Where did they come from? Did you just find them lying around? And how have you eaten up until now? Just the berries off the ground. Okay, that's fine. There are a few things that just made me go, But I've just seen a campfire. Where did that come from? Did you just wait till lightning struck and then just stoked that fire forever? How did you know to add sticks to it if you cannot build?
See, all of the branches fell off the tree. The lightning accidentally hit the branches, and because the fire was under a tree, more sticks continued to fall and accidentally created kindling.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So this fire that I found in the middle of nowhere outside a small tumble-down house.
Someone took the tree.
Someone stole the tree.
Someone stole the tree that had been kindling the fire, and they stole it in the last hour or so.
Or maybe that's what I saw walking through the swamp that time. I did see this large tree thing. There are lots of interesting enemies, many of them completely undefeatable with the weapons that you are provided and able to get. And the demo seems to sort of tail off.
It doesn't
after
really
not
tell
having
you
done
it's
much.
over, does it?
Not that maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I went and got a second character out from under a dirt mound, and you get them back to town, and they're like, "I've got this book thing. Here's some cloth. Okay, now what? Now what happens?" And I've had a bit of a wander around. I found a small reptile. Well, I say small. It's about 20 times larger than I am. It's a sort of green dragony type thing that's asleep. I found some walking tree things near a swamp that kicked my ass. Yeah, and then I started the whole demo again from the beginning and tried to build a very tall block of flats out of dirt, because it's the only material that you can freely gather. I haven't found any way to gather stone, so I was just like, I'm just going to build this as tall as I can. Ooh, 550 you say that this particular building room is worth. I say it's a horrible dirt block with some straw beds and a chest in it.
The way that you've been making it sound to me basically sounds kind of like Minecraft if it had a bit more plot and structure.
I would say Minecraft meets ARPG meets some kind of village manager game.
Which, I'm up for that.
Definitely.
I hadn't been considering looking at it until you told me about the demo, and I've been like, you know what? Yeah, I could go for that.
Suck it and see. The demo is free. I caved and bought the game, so now I just have to wait till February 9th for it to come out.
It's almost there. It's almost
so
there.
Close. And I've got things to keep me busy in the meantime.
Yeah.
Other playing, I did a little bit of Splatoon 2. I now have my working Switch dock back after my Switch dock broke. Problem. So now I can play Splatoon 2 on a big screen, but the problem is I cannot work it in TV mode. The controls do not work for me in TV mode.
What is it about the controls in TV mode that just doesn't gel for you?
Because it doesn't default to motion control or motion assisted when you're in TV mode. And I've always had a bit of a problem doing shooter games on controller. I'm mousey keyboard girl. On handheld, I can do most of the movement with the control with the stick, and then just do little fine motor stuff with the motion. And I can't seem to make that work even if I force motion while on a TV. Wow.
Interesting. I need to go back and play more Splatoon. I've not played it in a while.
Let's play Splatoon.
Depending on how late we finish this podcast, we might play some tonight.
Woo. What else have I played? I played Pandemic Legacy in a non-video game.
Yeah, that's a game, but not one of the video ones.
Yeah, that was fun. About 13 months ago, I started playing Pandemic Legacy Season 1 with some friends. We played January, and then we went to open the secret dossier at the end of January, and went, fuck, all of these are in French. So we contacted the manufacturer, and they're like, sorry, that happens. We'll send you out some new ones. So we got the new ones. And then we sat down and we went, okay, we're going to play this. Cool. And then we went to play February in, like, May, I think. And we looked at it and went, shit, we were supposed to play another game in January, but we fucked up. So we went all the way back to the beginning, peeled all the stickers off the board. Then we sat down and played all of January through again. And now we have finally played a game in February, which we kicked ass at, although Northern Europe is rioting. So
for anyone,
sorry, Northern Europe, we couldn't save you.
For anyone that doesn't know Pandemic Legacy, would I be explaining it fairly if I said that it's like you have a map and you're trying to stop a disease from spreading across the world?
Four viruses.
Okay, you're trying to stop 4 viruses spreading around the world, but like the thing about Pandemic Legacy is that when certain things happen in the game, you get told to, or you might choose to, open up bits of the game that then will, like, oh, put these stickers over the board and now the game is different forever.
Depending on, basically, as cities get infected with this virus, if they get a certain amount of disease counters on them, there is a possibility that that virus will have an outbreak and spread to all adjoining cities. And that can cause cascade effects over large chunks of the map, which are really, really bad.
Well, I know there's things like, somewhere in the box there is a packet that's like, do not ever open this.
Ah, yes, box number 8, I think it is,
Yep.
or box number 10.
And if someone opens it, it changes the game.
All of the boxes change the game, or most of the secret dossier. It's like opening an advent calendar. You have so many different things to open. We opened one this month that gave us a whole new set of counters that were specifically used to quarantine cities. But it's like, I'm trying to think, Plague Inc. But instead of playing the virus, you are playing the people fighting the virus. And instead of there being one virus, there's 4. And currently we've got to a point where one of the viruses is completely incurable. So you can't get rid of anything related to that particular virus. And if it gets any worse, you just have to quarantine it and hope for the best.
Oh, goodness. Goodness gracious.
We thought it was going to be a lot more stressful than it was, especially given that we had 3-4 massive outbreaks in January. That meant that there were like level 2 rioting all across Northern Europe.
That does not sound like a fun place to be.
But because those riot stickers stay on the board, we know that from now on, that is always a level 2, and if things get any worse, that city might become completely impossible for us to travel to, or we wouldn't be able to cure anything in. We wouldn't be able to move around it, and it could potentially infect. That could create a massive potential for spreading the virus further out. It's bad news.
Yeah, that is bad news.
Yeah, a pandemic on its own is quite. You very often feel on the back foot unless you've played a good few games. You can sort of power game. You can kind of power game it if you know what you're doing. And the other thing is, because it's a co-op game, you can end up sometimes with people who are very much like, I know all the things, I know all the best strategies, let me tell you what to do. It's like, but what was the point of me playing if you're going to play everyone's parts?
Exactly, you've got to let people work together.
Yes, very much so.
We didn't play it this week, but there's a game we played a little while ago that I wanted to bring up because I thought it was just really fun.
It was.
So, we've been playing a deck-building board game called Clank.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I bought Clank for myself for Christmas.
And it was a very good Christmas gift to yourself. So, Clank is a deck-building card game where every player starts with the same deck of like 10 cards, and you can use resources generated from it to buy new cards to add to your deck to try and build resources faster. But the difference with this is you've also got a board game board that is a castle with like a dungeon below it. And everything you do has the potential to make noise, which might wake up a dragon and cause the dragon to attack you and do damage and maybe kill you. And you've got to try and get into this dungeon, get as much treasure as you can, and hopefully get out alive with it. So you don't automatically take damage for making noise in the game. The more noise you make, the more counters of your colour get put into a bag, and then when the dragon attacks, you sort of randomly put your hand in and take out a certain number of these counters, and the more of your noise counters got put in the bag, the higher the chance that your cubes will be the one taken out and you'll take the damage. So you're not guaranteed to take damage for being noisy, but you're more likely to take damage for it.
Yes.
It's a really simple board game. Like, everything on it is very self-explanatory. All of the imagery explains what you have to do on all the squares.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of fun every time we've played it.
We really did. I think we ended up playing like 9 games of that over the holiday period. That was...
Yeah, we played quite a few games. What I thought was really nice is that there's a lot of board games like that say two players up to however many players, but a lot of them don't really work with 2 people.
We tried to play King of Tokyo. That didn't really work.
King of Tokyo doesn't work super well with 2 people. Clank works incredibly well with 2 people. It scales up really well as well. Like, it's a different but equally good game with like 4 players. I think we played
with 4. Yeah,
but 2 players, you could totally have a 2-player game of Clank. There's a second, more difficult dungeon on the back of the board, which was really fun for us.
It is the game that keeps on giving.
Yeah, like we played several games of it, and we were still seeing new cards we hadn't seen. It seems like a really good, like, easy to explain board game that doesn't require a huge amount of pre-setup.
If you don't like the fantasy or the medieval periods concept, there is a Clank in Space option, which, as far as I can tell, having looked at the cards, is basically exactly the same game with a reskin for space.
Which, that's pretty cool.
It even has a space version of Mr. Whiskers, which is my favourite card in Clank.
The teeny tiny cat that helps.
Teeny tiny cat.
Teeny tiny cat called Mr. Whiskers.
Mr. Whiskers.
There was one other games thing you put down this week. Not a thing you've played, but a bit of games news. Did you want to mention that?
Please. The spiritual successor to Theme Hospital, 2 Point Hospital.
Indeed. So
the trailer came out.
For anyone that doesn't know Theme Hospital, it was a PC comedic hospital simulator in the mid-90s. Is that right?
Thereabouts. I think it also had a PS1 release. And possibly others, but yeah, it was sort of US hospital theme simulator management game. So you build your hospital, you build all the various sort of wards and diagnostic suites and curative things, and all of the diseases were quite comedic. So you would have like people wandering in with massive heads. They've clearly got a case of bloaty head. So you send them to the GP, and the GP will go, I don't know what you have. Let's send you over here to have this diagnostic done on you. Eventually they will discover bloaty head, and they will come up with a cure for it, which is basically, I think for bloaty head, it's that they stab your head so it pops, and then they reinflate the rest of the head. There was rather hilariously, it was made by Bullfrog. So any of you Bullfrog peeps, I don't think Molyneux was involved. Your friend.
Bullfrog are British, aren't they? They're a British developer.
Wasn't Molly at Bullfrog at one point?
He was at Bullfrog at one point. Yeah, I don't think he was
Dungeon
there
Keeper
for this.
No, I think it was a bit late on. It was post-Theme Hospital. Post-Theme Park. Pre-Theme Park World. Theme Hospital was one of those games that the fans kept going for a long time after. There were fan patches that would make it run on modern systems. I think GOG had a version of it before many others that kept working, there was the hilariously removed affliction in the game. One of them was pregnancy, which was hilariously caused by blackouts, power failures. Well, what do you do in the dark?
I see what you mean now.
Do you know what I'd like to see more of?
What would you like to see more of?
All right, mate.
All right, mate. How you doing?
Oh, yeah, good, mate, yeah. Well, I'll say that. I have had a bit of a weird day. I had to have a bit of an argument with someone at work.
Oh, what happened? What happened, mate?
They was throwing a tea-slur around.
I was throwing a tea-slur around, huh?
Absolutely unacceptable. Just come out with it right in front of me, and I don't know what they think they think of me, that they think it's acceptable to use that kind of language. Do they think I'm okay with that kind of thing just because I'm not trans myself?
Oh, goodness. So, considering that this was a workplace, I'm expecting that at best, you probably got some of that good old performative ally shit where, someone will say, knock it off, but they might do so while laughing, and it's clear that they're doing it because they're supposed to, or they're doing it for cred, and they're not actually caring about the purpose of their argument.
Well, I made it very clear that I was absolutely not into this performative allyship. The fact that he come back at me saying, well, you're not trans, so you shouldn't. Obviously, that's not what he said, sadly.
Oh, yeah.
But I've corrected him on why use of that particular language is not acceptable. Just because I myself am not trans, there could be people who are stealth or in the closet, or have trans family members and don't feel that they can speak up. I think it's very important to, make sure that people are aware that prejudice of any kind is not acceptable.
Oh, indeed. And even if no one was like that, even if there weren't no trans people around anyway that you didn't know about, you should still do it, because that's the point of allyship, is you don't do it just when it's easy or just when they're around. You do it all the time, because it's important that people of all minority groups have allies around when they can't fight them battles themselves.
Well, we're trying to make the world a better place, and I think the more these bigots are aware that nowhere is safe for them to air their shitty views is all the better.
Oh, exactly. Just because you're not doing it to a group's face doesn't mean you shouldn't be corrected on it, and that's the thing, is you don't just do it when it's trendy or when there's people watching. You do allyship all the time, and that's doing proper allyship that is not just performative.
Hello, Sparkies.
Hi. I've got an electrical problem. I've got quite an old fuse board, and it seems like it's broken, but I can't seem to find anywhere that sells the old style fuses rather than the new flip switches. Do you know if you can help?
You got an old style RCD? Yeah, no, it shouldn't be a problem. You wouldn't happen to be trans though, would you?
Yeah, I don't see how that's relevant.
Well, it's all very important. You want to make sure that we're treating these things correctly. Obviously, we don't want to bring you to any harm. We want to make sure that you are treated with the utmost care, and because trans people obviously do need special care and attention, and also, we do need a specialist. So I'll tell you what, I'll send Steve round in about an hour. And then in about a year from now, we'll be able to send Mike round, and Mike will give you a second opinion. The two of them will compare their notes, and they'll let you know if they'll be able to help you out, get your lights back on.
Why do I need two opinions? Like, I'm the one that can see my fuse board and can see like the burnt piece where this fuse has gone. Like, surely I know better than someone on the other end of the phone what the problem is, and surely you can just send someone to fix the problem.
No, don't get me wrong. We certainly will be sending somebody out to help. But obviously, we do need to make sure that you're absolutely sure that you do want the lights back on.
I'm telling you,
before we make any mistakes that can't be reversed.
Well, I'm telling you now. I would like the lights back on, please.
Well, obviously, that is what you think. That's very important. Absolutely. But it would be wrong of us to move forward How about I will get someone round there with some batteries, and you can start taking those, see if you can get, like, maybe a torch on. And then, after a year of just trying that out, we don't want to do anything that's irreversible. And then from there, we can move forward. We'll get the specialist and we'll see if we can move forward. Maybe getting like a senior technician down, just to sign you off finally. And we might even look at replacing your entire fuse board for you.
See, considering that I am not a trained electrician, the number of hoops you're making me jump through, I have half a mind to just go and find a fuse myself and fix it because, solve the problem myself, because you're really making me jump through unnecessary hoops here.
Look, I understand there is a lot of frustration. This is a confusing time for you, but obviously we do need to make sure that you're absolutely sure this is right for you. No snap decisions. Obviously, you're very sure now, but in a couple of months' time, You might say, this is right for me. I was wrong. I should be in the dark with no power or anything. I think it's very important not to rush these things. I mean, what if a child was involved?
There is a child involved. I want them to be able to live in a house where I'm not upset because there's no lights.
Well, I mean, I think we need to consider very, very carefully that whether or not that's right for them.
This is what the medical establishment does to trans people. Oh, side note, while we're recording this,
it's 10:02.
Yeah, I might as well just mention this while it's going on. There's a bunch of weird Nintendo Switch stuff just got announced while we're recording this.
We are live reporting.
Yeah, so live reporting. There's a new thing for the Switch called Nintendo Labo, and it's a series of build and play experiences that are all weird things you can do with the Switch. So they're all made of like cardboard that comes flat packed, and you fold it up and like connect things together with cardboard. And some of the examples are like, here's a piano where you put the Switch into the top of this like cardboard piano you've made, and all of the cardboard keys of the piano will do things. Or here's like a motorbike that you make out of cardboard, and you put the Joy-Con in the throttle, and you turn the throttle, and it'll make the game go. It's a bunch of weird games you make by folding cardboard and putting the Switch into it.
Okay.
How weird and odd. Like, one involves, like, putting the Joy-Con into a cardboard fishing rod. This is super weird.
Uh-huh.
How? You sound very confused by it.
I'm very confused by this.
Yeah, do you want me to send you the trailer so you can see what I'm talking about?
I'm Googling it now.
Nintendo UK has just tweeted about it, might be the easiest way to find it. They've tweeted a video.
Labo.
Labo.
Oh, Labo.
Labo.
Oh. Cardboard.
But yeah, this is a super weird looking thing.
What? How? What?
Are you watching this cardboard piano be used in a game?
How? What?
I don't entirely know yet. That's still confusing to me. I don't know if there's any good write-ups on this yet.
So it's papercraft. What?
Yeah, so I'm having a quick read on Time now. Nintendo
What?
Labo, a new
Is
line
that
of...
using the vibration control to pilot a nanobot thing?
I assume so. Nintendo Labo is a new line of do-it-yourself products that let Switch owners build interactive cardboard add-ons for the console. It involves sheets of modular cardboard cutouts that, when assembled, can take the form of various Switch accessories. The company calls those accessories Toy-Cons. So you put your Joy-Con in a Toy-Con.
I want to hear what Jim's got to say about that.
Okay, so for $70, you get a variety pack. You get a variety pack with 5 different kits, including 2 RC cars, a motorbike, a fishing rod, a house, and a piano. A separate $80 kit lets Switch owners build a wearable robot suit. They both come out on April 20th. They work in conjunction with an app that walks players through assembling them. The app includes games specifically designed for them, as well as interactive graphics explaining how the cardboard-crafted accessories function. Yeah, you've got the build section of the app, the play section, and the discover section. This is super weird. Users have the option to fast forward through certain steps to speed up the process. Videos are filled with flourishes to make them amusing to watch. Yeah, this is just build papercraft cardboard things that you can then play Switch games with.
I feel like that is something that I am going to probably end up buying and playing with, and then finding it squashed under something at some later time.
Yes, I agree with you that I don't think it's going to survive terribly long necessarily, but...
For the price!
See, here's the thing. Essentially those are just, like, printed on cardboard. I imagine, like, very quickly you will get people being like, here is a thing you can print out on paper, glue onto cardboard and cut out yourself.
Yeah.
So, I don't imagine it's going to be long before that's the case.
Well, I don't know if there will be, like, a download code to make the actual game function bits work.
I have no idea, because, again, why not just download the game and just, like, pretend you've put the Joy-Cons in these places? I'm curious. It's a very Nintendo thing.
Well, yes.
Yeah, it is
fun,
very Nintendo.
isn't it?
It is silly, weird fun that no one would have guessed. It's like, here's Nintendo's new thing, put your Switch in cardboard.
I want that robot suit to fit me, but I am giant gal.
I am also I'm more than child-sized gal, and I have no idea if there will be adult-sized versions of it, but worst case scenario, I'm sure the internet will be like, here, print this out, glue it to cardboard, scale it up.
Heck.
So I kind of want to make the robot suit.
I want to make the robot suit. I want to make the piano. I want to know how the heck that works.
Yeah.
Assuming it does. Assuming it does anything rather than just go, look, we made papercraft.
I assume it has to work, so, like, this'll be interesting, because I work in the games industry. There's probably going to be a day where I have to go into the office and sit building cardboard and go, I'm playing my piano.
That sounds like a really good stream right there.
That does indeed, doesn't it? Nintendo, if you're listening, please send me cardboard so I can sit on a live stream and make cardboard pianos for people.
I would watch the heck out of that.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a bit of a diversion from where we were.
It's all good stuff.
Yeah. So,
happy to have a bit of news.
Theme Hospital is getting its follow-up, 2 Point Hospital. I think we kind of got interrupted in the middle of that by me.
No, I think that's important stuff. I am glad that we have learnt a new thing.
Yeah.
Do you need a bra?
What kind of bra are you offering me?
Do you need a bra for fancy occasions?
I do. What kind of bra is that?
Nice one, bra.
Nice one, bra. Do you need a bra that will help you locate, whether something... where something falls on a vertical axis? What's up, bra?
Do you need a bra with a pocket for coins?
Yeah?
Got any change, bra?
Do you need a bra that will help you to prevent water from going further down the river? Damn, bra.
Damn, bra. Do you need a bra that has a clear sealed tube that has some liquid in it and an air bubble?
Right?
Level with me, bra.
Do you need a bra that has very little material to it at all? Not much, bra.
Do you need a bra that's completely strapless?
Yes, I do.
Back off, bra.
Do you need a bra that will help keep you cool in hot summer weather?
Big fan, bra.
Oh, I was gonna go for chill bra.
Chill, bra.
Chill bra.
Do you need a bra with a white clean target on the front?
I know where this is going.
Come at me, bra.
I think that ends that segment.
I'm sorry, No, I'm not. That was funny.
Hello. Sorry to bother you. I've just arrived on the scene. Detective Roberts here. I just need updating on the status of our crime scene.
Well, Detective Roberts, the subject was an IC-12 elfin creature, most likely a pixie. There is an awful lot of glitter everywhere. This one appears to be silver.
Sorry. It's a frankly horrifying
Not
amount
for the
of
faint
glitter.
of stomach.
No, sorry. It never gets easier seeing this amount of glitter splattered around a room.
No, I don't know how they managed to get it way up in the treetops.
Can you tell me anything about the way this pixie died from the glitter splatter?
Given the amount of glitter and the distance that it's travelled, I would say some kind of heavy bludgeoning instrument, possibly a large creature. I'd say something in the sort of troll, giant, or hobgoblin sort of level.
This is what happens when you have this great disparity between creature sizes. For all we know, this could have just been an unfortunate, horrific accident. There's just issues that occur.
Well, according to the splatter trails for the glitter, it's clear that this was almost certainly no accident, because you can see over here where the victim seems to have been smashed against that tree. But then there is a mark there where they've landed, and then over there is another mark where there is quite a lot of cast off, but it also looks like the victim has hit that tree as well. It's clear that the victim was really rather knocked around this small clearing.
Sorry, I'm gonna need a second. I'm gonna go look at my notes just so I can stop looking at this room full of... Oh, sorry, I believe we've got is that a call coming in?
Sir, we've had a bit of a lead at the local GUM clinic.
And, what's the lead?
Someone's come in with a severe case of craft herpes.
But what's this?
There is news.
What's the news?
Huge, massive life personal update that I'm sure everyone who listened to the pilot episode will be really, really desperate to know.
What is it?
I found one of my sets of nail clippers.
Whoa, where were the nail clippers?
They were next to my bed, slightly tucked under it, underneath all the extension leads and cables and phone stuff, and spare switch charger.
Amazing news!
It wasn't the good pair, but yeah.
I still haven't found my expandy clothes ball.
What?
Thing. Yeah, I have no idea.
Did Smudge eat it?
Smudge may have eaten it. My cat Smudge may have eaten it because it lives in my office, and now it's not in my office. Where did it go?
Did you take it upstairs by any chance?
No, I looked upstairs. It's not in my bedroom either.
Smudge must have eaten it.
Yeah, Smudge must have eaten it. If I try and put my hands on her side and she expands and gets smaller again, then
you rub her one way, she gets much bigger.
And with that, that's probably a good place for us to wrap up for this week. So we should do self-promotion-y type things. Where can you be found on the internet, Jane?
I can be found as Maniac Janiac on Twitter and on YouTube, and that's about it. Those are the things I do.
Those are some good things that you do. You can find me at LauraKBuzz most places with usernames, LauraKBuzz on Twitter, LauraKBuzz on YouTube. You can find me Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 at kotaku.co.uk. You can also find me on a Dungeons & Dragons podcast called Dice Funk, where...
It's very good.
You can jump into any season. I'm in seasons 3 and 4. They're all standalone stories. In season 4, which is currently ongoing, I play basically a Yu-Gi-Oh! Wizard. And that
Best wizard.
I am a big fan of my terrible trashy Yu-Gi-Oh! Wizard character. He's wonderful.
I must know what happens to Frank. I must know.
I've recorded the next episode. Things happen. Oh.
I know you know. But I need to know, and I won't know till Sunday.
You'll know the same day as the people
This
are
goes
listening
up.
to this, yeah.
Gasp. Hello, us from the future.
Hello, us from the future. I hope you're having a good Sunday, us from the future. Right, and with that, until next time, be a stranger.